What's going on, guys? So today I'm talking about the Boker Plus Trainer Balisong. I got this in a trade. I was very excited when it first came out. Had to wait a little while until someone finally offered one in a trade. As far as I know, these are discontinued now. I don't think they're currently making them anymore. But when this hit the market, it was really exciting because it was supposed to fill a gap, all right, in between cheap Balisongs that fall apart and expensive ones that work very well. All right, so if you're not familiar with the whole Balisong scene or butterfly knife scene, there's a slew of $30 and less Balisongs that just fall apart. They're just really cheaply made. They can't stand the abuse. You know, when flipping a Balisong knife, you're dropping it all the time. It doesn't matter if it's your first day flipping or you've been doing it for 15 years. In fact, the people who are really good at it are probably more inclined to drop them just because they're always trying new tricks. So they get a lot of abuse, okay? More than any other knife design on the planet, period. People are just dropping these things, throwing them all over the place. They're getting banged up and beat up, right? So the cheap ones fall apart and they get very dangerous, okay? The screws fall out, the pins fall out, they literally break. So when people get into this hobby, they want to invest some money in a good one. There's such a gap in that market. $30 and less on this side, and then, hey, you want a good one? Well, guess what? We're gonna go 10 times that price to $300 and up. 300, 400, 500, you know, it just depends on what model you're looking at. But that's pretty much what it is. Yes, there's a handful of them, you know, that are around the $100 range or so, but it's a lacking market, okay? So when this hit the market at $50 to $60 is what these cost, it was very exciting. You know, can you spend $50 or $60 and have a Balisong that won't fall apart, all right? I'm here to tell you that this will not fall apart, okay? So that's good news. However, there's a however here. There's a lot of things I don't like about this, which is disappointing to me. Overall, it's good quality, but when you're talking about actually flipping the thing all the time, and because this is a trainer, I would say it should be criticized even more because its sole purpose is to practice flipping. If this had a live blade on it, it might be a little bit different because people can use the knife. They don't necessarily have to flip it all the time. So all these issues that I'm going to talk about are pertaining to flipping, all right, and only flipping. So yeah, overall, would I recommend it before I even get into anything else? I'm going to say yes. If you're a collector, for the price tag, it's definitely worth adding to your collection. I think it's part of Balisong history, you know, all these different models that are kind of known and come out and come and go and stuff. So yeah, I mean, from a collecting standpoint, absolutely grab one. From a flipping standpoint, I would probably say I'd pass. All right. There's, again, a bunch of different reasons we're going to get into. So first off, some quick specs on this. 4-inch blade, okay, 5-inch handle, stainless liners with red G10. The red is really cool. Just reminds me of the old, you know, Benchmade 40TR, which obviously had a powder-coated red handle. But generally speaking, in the knife world, all kinds of different companies, they use red for their trainer models. Okay, so it's a very common color to have a trainer. There's some karambits out there. I mean, even I think Benchmade, the Griptilian. There was a Griptilian trainer, you know, so maybe, let's say, police force used for practicing, you know, knife defense or something. So red is a very common color for a trainer. That's kind of cool. It's kind of a plus. Plus, it's just different. You know, black, 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 everything's black, or silver. So I do like the red quite a bit. 9 inches overall, or 9.1 inches. And 5.4 ounces. 5.4 ounces. Now, if you're a flipper, you're gonna know that's heavy. It is heavy. It feels solid, going way back to the, if it's heavier, it must be nicer quality kind of thing. So there's something there to it. But most people are gonna think it's just a little bit on the heavy side. Also, the balance point on this is further back than a lot of different models. All right, if I could show this to you. Whoops, make sure those handles are together. A lot of the different knives I have are just a hair forward. A lot of the weight is in the back here, okay? So, I mean, as far as from a flipping standpoint, it's not a huge deal if you do a ton of flipping. If you're, I'll put it this way, if you're good at flipping a Balisong, you might not like that. But again, a lot of these different things come down to preference. Right off the bat, we're gonna talk about this pocket clip because I am not a fan of this pocket clip. Not because of the design so much. It's actually not the clip itself that I don't like. There's two ways to look at this, or the first things that I thought of anyway. why is there a pocket clip on a trainer Balisong? All right, a pocket clip gets in the way. I mean, when you're flipping this knife and you're manipulating it, it's just something sticking out there to rub in your hands. It's very, very uncomfortable for any Balisong, in my opinion, that has a pocket clip. I think it's a downside. The only reason you would put a pocket clip on a Balisong is if you carry it. Now, if you are this, the guys out there and girls that flip every single day, I get it. It's always in your pocket. Everywhere you go, you're flipping your knife. That makes sense, okay? It really is your EDC knife. However, most people do not carry these, and most people do not use them for EDC. So the pocket clip on a usable Balisong with an actual cutting edge, it's already sketchy in my opinion. Now, because it's a trainer, I think it has even less capability. If you're going to EDC it, you can't even use it to cut anything. So if you just want to take a trainer everywhere with you, fine, I get it, but that's very, very few people. All right, but the second thing is just by design, this whole knife, I feel like it's not finished yet. There's a lot of sharp corners, okay? That was a big problem for me in flipping this. But as far as carrying, because I didn't carry this out anywhere, but I put it in my pocket a few times just to take it in and out to see if it was going to snag or anything. And guess what? It was rubbing pretty bad. These skeletonized handles here have very, very sharp corners, okay? They never did any kind of chamfering or smoothing out these edges. Very, very sharp edges on the inside of this. So of course, where that pocket clip lands, it rubs on the material on your pants and just grabs. Even in flipping this, you could feel those edges, okay? So it is extra grippy, let's say, but kind of like in an uncomfortable way. Also, since we're on the topic, same thing where they did like a high polish on the edges. I don't know if you could tell. You can see all the glistening, and then it's kind of a flat satin, So I'm thinking like they polish this up and they put it on a machine and just flatten this out or ground this down like this. But again, they didn't come back to fix any of these holes or these edges. Now the holes, they're very sharp. They're like sharper than a Spidey hole, okay? So the people out there with your brand new Spydercos, you know how sharp that is. This is even sharper, okay? These would be great for striking ferrocene rods. In fact, this could be a survival Balisong. You want to flip around, at camp, or you're going on a hike, you want to bring a Balisong, this is a good one to bring, okay, if you have a ferro rod, because you can use every one of these holes, all different size ferro rods, and get a really good strike on there, all right? But even though you're not really touching these holes, you are coming in contact with this edge. Now, the actual edge, obviously, it's a trainer blade, it's not sharp, but these corners, let's say, that is sharp. Like, it's almost ice skating sharp. All right, it's like really, really uncomfortable. All right, when I first started flipping this, it wasn't that big of a deal. It's when you start spending 20 minutes flipping, a half an hour flipping, an hour flipping, that's when you really start to notice these different things, and it does become uncomfortable. There's a lot of times where that's coming in contact with your hand, ricochets, I didn't like it. It was noticeably uncomfortable. Now this one being a little bit heavier doesn't really bother me. I flipped really light Balisongs and really heavy Balisongs, and I can adjust, for the most part. But these sharper edges, that makes it very uncomfortable to flip, because, flipping a Balisong, if you're doing it for a while, it becomes uncomfortable no matter what you have. You're smacking metal on your knuckles and hands and, fingers and twisting things. And, so there's a little bit of natural discomfort there, but, to have this extra discomfort from rubbing on sharp edges, that's not good. So for a beginner or something, I don't really think it's a big deal, but if you're flipping for a significant amount of time, again, that's why I wouldn't recommend this. I would say that it would be too uncomfortable to enjoy. Now, one positive thing I do like about this is it's modernized. It does have Zen pins as opposed to Tang pins. The difference is the blade here, okay, this area here is called the Tang, and on a lot of older Balisongs, there's pins that go through there. And those pins touch, a little cup or cutout on the handle, and that's what keeps the distance between the handles, okay? In order for the latch to actually lock and function, you have to have a little gap, all right? You have to have a certain distance, all right? The handles have to be able to stop at a certain point, so it creates tension, all right? Does that make sense? So this can lock in the open position, of course, it can lock in the closed position, all right? But without that tension, it won't be able to lock up properly. So in the case of the Zen pins, okay, they go through the frame here, they just line up with this little cutout right here. Okay, see how it's stopping there? Same thing the other side, they stop. So this way you don't have to have a pin that goes through the Tang. Oftentimes on you know, especially cheaper knives, those are press fit in and they get loose, they deform, you know, from use. So that's why a lot of older Balisongs have floppy latches that don't lock closed. All right, you go to lock it and it just kind of falls out. That's because those tang pins are deformed or, you know, misshapen or whatever. Sometimes they literally just fall out of the knife. Now we take a close-up look on the blade here. Check out the markings real quick. All right, I believe the 420 in the bottom is for the steel. All right, I believe this is a 420 stainless. They just say it's stainless steel, but that would be my assumption, especially because you're not using it. Doesn't really matter what the steel is. And the top number should be the serial number. So this is probably the 2617th one that they made. And then of course, Boker Plus logo on the other side. Now again, you can see that high polish, you know, it looks really nice. And what's so dumb here is that they actually put a corner cut on there and rounded in here. But not up here where it matters. Okay, I'm not really sure why they went ahead and did that here. I would have liked to see that continue, and then it wouldn't be really much of an issue at all. In fact, that could literally make or break this knife. For me, it's breaking it because it's lacking and because that sharp edge is uncomfortable. That's why I don't recommend it. If they continued that all the way around and it was comfortable smacking against your hand and fingers, yeah, maybe I'd like the knife a lot more. All right, so I zoomed in a little bit here so we could talk about this latch, which I do really like. It's very similar how this works to the Benchmade Morpho, the 51 or the 32, in that there's a cutout in the liner, okay, and there's a little cup on the bottom there, and there's a little pin. So as you push this forward, it's literally pushing that liner down. Now these are stainless steel liners, so there's a little more resistance than the Morpho because those have titanium liners. All right, so it is a little bit on the stiffer side, but it does create the proper tension, okay, to very nicely lock this up. You can see there's just a very slight cutout here. So when the handles are together, you push down, it's building up tension, and then because of that cutout, it kind of just stays in place. It doesn't really like click in place or anything. You could feel it overcome that corner, and then it locks it up very nicely. What's nice is there's enough tension so that if you squeeze the handles together, it does pop open. All right, however, in the open position, if you lock that down, okay, it does not always pop open. Sometimes it'll pop a little bit. You can squeeze it and let go, squeeze and let go, and it'll actually unlatch, all right, but it doesn't work the same as in the closed position. But it's really not a big deal, again, because this is a trainer model. I think you're much, I mean, every time you put it away, it's gonna be closed probably, right? So when you go to grab it, you know, whether it's in the reverse position or position like this, just squeezing it, you know, you're good to go with your manipulations. Most people will probably never lock this in the open position unless you're doing specific moves, you know, that require that. All right, but anyway, yeah, I mean, overall, it was kind of a disappointment. It is really nice. I think it's worth the money, $50 or $60 as a trainer. It's not going to fall apart on you. It is a much, much better quality Balisong, but again, as mentioned before, all these little things, they add up. So if you're a regular flipper and you have some experience and you're transitioning from one, you know, knife to this, you probably won't be all that happy. You know, being that it's uncomfortable, that's the biggest thing to me. It's like any knife, you know, if it's not comfortable, you're probably not going to use it. If it's your only one, obviously you're going to get used to it and it's not that big of a deal. But of course, it's a review, so I'm critiquing it. That's the point. These are things that bothered me. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it for, you know, a long-term, everyday flipper for a trainer, but I would definitely recommend it to try out. I would definitely say that it is a quality Balisong, and it's a must-have for a collection, in my opinion. And that's why I got one. Not just to try, but the reason I'm going to keep this and not trade it off is because I think it's an awesome collectible and a part of Balisong history. I've mentioned this multiple times in the past, and I know I'm not the only one, but I'd love to see every knife company have their own take on a Balisong. I'm waiting for the CRKT, you know, Balisong, the Kershaw Balisong. You know, these are companies that will be able to put something out in a similar price range that would probably not fall apart. All right, so who knows? Who knows what the future holds? So that's it for this one, guys. If you have the Boker Plus Trainer Balisong, let me know down in the comment section what you think of yours. Be sure to let me know how long you've had it. And, you know, if you agree on things or disagree, that's totally fine. Just looking for the feedback. Now that I've experienced it, I'm just curious what other people thought of it. But that's all. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.